Ji, Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Stumps and Insight, the ultimate cricket discourse, chapter 3. Tonight, I'm joined by a very special guest all the way from Turkey. He is an entrepreneur and is currently on a business visit. Please welcome Taha Jamil. Taha, how are you doing today?
Yeah, good, Arham. Nice to be here, and congratulations on this epic start of Stumps and Insight. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, thank you. I just hope that everyone remembers me in the prayers because honestly, it's a very tough journey. It seems to be a very tough journey right now, but I hope things pan out at the end. Here, moving on to our agenda for today, we will be discussing or rather previewing Pakistan's encounter versus India. That's going to be starting off in around 12 to 13 hours. The excitement is high as always. Both the people from across the border are extremely excited, like always. What are you going to say about this encounter, Taha?
Yeah, it's going to be great. I mean, the anticipation, as always, Pakistan versus India. It's one of the biggest sporting events, not in just the cricket, I would say. It's around the world in the sports in general. I mean, more than like 1.5 billion people watching, and not within just India and Pakistan. All the cricket nations, they have their eyes glued on the TV screens, throughout the duration of the game. And the other thing is that because of the unrest, political kind of uncertain political situations. So we do not play very often with India. So it's usually just between these ICC events. So that is something which makes it even more important whenever some ICC events, come into place. So there are always eyes on this game. So yeah, really excited about it.
I think now that you have mentioned the excitement around it and how important it is how important this match is during the ICC tournaments, I would like to bring into light the current scenario that is happening around around this tournament. What happened was that the BCCI cancelled the opening ceremony of the World Cup and now have come up with a special opening ceremony, specially for the Pakistan versus India match, and there are going to be artists, there are going to be singers performing before the match as well as during the innings break. Now, thinking of it from a neutral point of view, I think the other teams are going to feel discriminated against because, to be very fair, I think the BCCI is putting a lot of spotlight on the India versus Pakistan encounter more than there already is. And I think they are basically trying to maximize their profits, which no one can really blame them for. But it is essentially a selfish act. And at the end of the day, I think you have to consider the fact that it's a World Cup, and you cannot just revolve all the hype around the two teams. What do you think about this stuff?
I think it's a fair point that you are trying to make here, and I would also second your opinion here, because this is certainly a discriminating act. I think they could have thought it in a better way. They could have just put the Pakistan India match to be the opening match if they wanted more eyes on the opening ceremony. But putting the match somewhere, 1 week down the lane, and then not initiating your World Cup with the opening ceremony, and then making that ceremony, as an opening ceremony, that doesn't make sense. And then also, that sort of shows like, it's just about India leading the charge, and which, by the way, is a fact whether you accept it or not. Just like, might is right, and it's all about the capitalist nature of the sports in general, the way sports have evolved over the last decade or two, with the commercial aspect, and it's huge. I mean, we cannot deny the bucks that the BCCI brings in for the ICC, and with their massive share in the global cricket. I think they're the ones who take the call. So can't say anything. but really sort of disappointed the way they have planned it or the way it
Yeah.
panned out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point that you have made because all over the world, people have been criticizing the BCCI because of how mismanaged the tournament has been. Not only have we seen the opening ceremony fiasco, we have also witnessed a huge, you could say, mismanagement at the tickets end, where they couldn't sell the tickets timely to the people and to the fans. And for a number of matches, they have opened their tickets right at the last time. And the people were quite amazed because they were told that the tickets had been sold out. Yet, despite being apparently sold out, the tickets were opened up at the last moment, causing a lot of chaos for all the fans out there. Here, I think moving on, let's move on to the World Cup at hand right now and to the business end of things and how things are shaping up for the two teams. What do you think about the two journeys? What do you think about the journeys of the two teams and how they have started their tournament and how both teams are shaping up for tomorrow's clash?
Mhm. I think if you just go back 1 week and you could have asked both the teams the kind of
Yep.
start they would have wanted, I think they would say what they have right now. So they
Yep.
couldn't have asked for more. Like for both Pakistan and India, they both got a spectacular start. They have all
Yep.
tested their options fairly. I think, and it's really the anticipation has increased even more with Pakistan setting up a record chase in the history of the World Cup, and it has been the Pakistan's batting which usually comes into question, but we've done it, and it's not just that this particular game we were able to chase. It's like a series of such chases which we are seeing, especially with this lineup, that there is a confidence. And now with with Babar and with now Saud Shakil coming in and Abdullah at the top, so this is a very good lineup in terms of batting. Now we see more consistency, and of course, how can I ignore the backbone of our middle order, Mohammad Rizwan? I mean, and on the other hand, if you look at India as well, so the pundits of the cricket around the globe are saying that this is one of the best Indian sides to ever play, in the World Cup, with the likes of Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Hardik Pandya, and now this young guy, Shubman Gill, who's really uh, looks like who's going to break the records of all of them. Unfortunate for him and for India as well, he couldn't be fit for the first two games. But I think
Yep.
both teams, Pakistan and India, are perfectly lined up for this contest.
Yeah, I think you have made an interesting point about how strong this Indian team is. I was previewing them before the World Cup started, and it's so amazing to see the depth that they have. Like they're Muhammad Shami is literally sitting out just because they have another option in the form of Shardul Thakur, who may not be as good as a bowler as Shami, but because of his lower order batting capability, he is making the final playing 11. And there is another example when you see their wicket keeping depth. Keep in mind that Rishabh Pant is out due to the accident that he incurred, and they still have Ishan Kishan and KL Rahul, who are like world class players. And despite all of that, Sanju Samson has still not made it into the 15. So you can see how talented their team is. And to me, I think every team has some sort of a weakness in this tournament. But when I look at the Indian team, I think they are firing from all cylinders and they're ticking all the boxes, and the tournament is at their home ground. So I think I wouldn't be as surprised if India wins it, but let's just accept the fact that I wouldn't be as happy either. But
Mhm.
let's hope that the best team wins the tournament. Now, moving on to the situation of the points table. Currently, Pakistan is situated at number 4, right below India. Both the teams have won both of their encounters and they have started off well. Both our teams are looking in good rhythm. India has defeated Australia, and Pakistan has sort of demolished Sri Lanka with that highest punches that they carried out. And the bowlers team in good nick, and the batsmen also are looking good for for both the teams. But when it comes to deciding the team combination before this all important match, what do you think Pakistan's team combination should look like? There are two questions that I want to ask, and that are basically arising in the cricketing fraternity right now. One of them is that should Pakistan continue with Imamul Haq, or should they give Fakhr Zaman, the apparent X factor, a chance to redeem himself? And the second question that I would like you to answer is about the the possible inclusion, should I say, of Usama Mir in place of Shadab Khan, because Shadab has not been firing that well in the recent past, and Osama Mir bowled well in the warm-ups. So, what do you have to say about this?
Mhm. Actually, you made very relevant points. I think starting from the top, Fakhr, unfortunately, has been struggling lately, and I think this decision could have been made earlier, like giving him some space. It's not just about getting him out of the team. You could have just had him within the squad, but at least have brought in Abdullah a bit earlier. You did it in the Asia Cup. He performed, and Abdullah has been with the team, and with that experience, and I mean the way he plays, it's just purely sublime. And in quoting Babar, he said like he's the most bookish player that you could see. And I mean the way he commands and the way he leads the game, and he charges the opposition, and the way he has taken the responsibility with both hands. And and he wasn't, if I take you back to that Sri Lankan game, he wasn't like looking to get out even after the 100. He was very focused. Unfortunately, it was a good catch by one of their substitute at backward point, but nevertheless, he was actually the one who really curated that innings. And then of course Rizwan leading the charge, taking it till the end. So that being said, I think it wouldn't make sense to me, like if you now with Imam not being in neck as well, you get Imam out and then bring Fakhr again, that would create a chaos. I think that wouldn't be a bit too much. So for now, I think the best way is to just go with Abdullah and Imam. I truly understand like the X factor that Fakhr brings in. It's unmatchable. There is no other player like that. If he clicks on the top, he could just single-handedly take the game away. But the thing is, with his current form, I think it's not just about the technique, and it is kind of a problem if you dissect it deeply. Like those players who have their kind of unorthodox sort of a technique, when they start struggling, they have a hard time getting back, because they have their own method and their own approach to play the opposition. So when their weaknesses are exploited, they have really hard time. So it's just about for her to going back to the basics and see what's not working out. And for me, it's not just the cricketing aspect. It's more about the psychological aspect for some reason as well. So if it's better if he stays out, be in the team, and maybe 2-3 games down the lane, if Imam doesn't score still, then maybe you can test bringing Fakhr back in. And the other thing is, I think with the inclusion of South Shakil, I mean, that has really, brought in the balance that we were missing for, I mean, I don't know how many years. Haris
Yeah.
Sohail did come in, but Haris Sohail again had problems with his, fitness. He would come in, play the 2015 World Cup, then get out, then come in again, play the 2019 World Cup, then get out. And I was hoping like he would again come and play the 2023 World Cup and then get out.
Likewise, bro.
So
Likewise.
yeah, exactly. So, but with South coming in, I think that street smartness that he brings in, I mean that is what was required. And with Iftikhar at the lower middle order, I think that really solidifies the whole batting. Now coming to uh, you know, the spin department, which has been, really the discussion point of the Pakistan's side of late. Unfortunately, I think Pakistan did not play much of an ODI cricket in the last 2 years. So that is one thing. And another thing for Shadab is that I myself have played, as a leg break bowler, leg spinner. So I could really understand that how important it is for you to ball at length, for longer durations. 4 overs is not enough. If you are just bowling 4 overs time and time again for like couple of years, it's the psychology behind it is totally different. Like if you're just playing like 10 games in your let's say maybe 14 months or so, that's not enough. And he is not playing the first class as well, so he hasn't got
Yeah.
that time of bowling longer, for longer durations, and really flight the ball, give the loop. So he actually doesn't sort of understand, I would say, that aspect where you how to, I would say, find those lengths where the ball isn't turning or the batsman won't be taking the charge. And with I think another important point here to understand is that. Uh, with this new power play rules, where from 10th over to the 40th over, you can just have four fielders outside. So that is actually really causing the problems for the spinners who are not turning it much, or who are not having that mystery kind of ball in their available options. So that's why the regular kind of spinners are having problems. And I think Osama Mir could be a good option, but I don't think so. In place of Shadab, because Shadab actually brings that energetic factor, in the field, and as well as overall in the side as well. And his batting
Yeah.
at the lower middle order, you would need it with times to come. There would be situations where you would need that experience, where you would need that grit, if I could say, which could be, cannot be replaced by someone else. If you talk about Usama Mir, without a doubt, has a great hitting potential, more than Nawaz and Shadab combined, because people haven't had the opportunity to see his batting in the international cricket. But what I have seen of him in the domestic cricket, I mean, he can hit miles, with just the batting.
Yeah.
So I think in place of Nawaz, if you bring in Osama in place of Nawaz, because Nawaz, to be honest, hasn't been up to the mark, I would say. And then you can, just continue with your bowling. And another thing I think you would also second me here is the exclusion of the unfortunate exclusion of Naseem Shah because of his shoulder
Yeah.
injury. That was a massive blow, and that still is
I
a
agree.
massive blow to Pakistan team, because he was the one who was sort of bringing in that aspect of taking care of the middle overs, and as well as bowling those good length balls and those good slow deliveries which weren't easily picked by the batsmen. And he was bowling at the good areas, as opposed to if you look at Haris and Shaheen. So the problem that we are currently having with Haris and Shaheen is that either they go for the wickets, and if they are finding the wickets, they are having hard time containing the runs. So they would leak a lot of runs. And if Shaheen doesn't get the wickets up front, then it starts bringing a lot of pressure on the Pakistani bowling. And if I just conclude in by mentioning, Hassan Ali, if I wouldn't mention, that wouldn't be justified. I mean, the way he, came back, he has really made an impact, I would say, because he brings that experience. His reduced pace is a concern, and I think pace overall is a concern. The pace of Shaheen, as well as the pace
Yeah.
of Hassan Ali. I mean, that can be a concern because if you are not being able to bowl on these kind of batting flat tracks over 140, then it's going to be a problem. And if you're not finding the right lengths, you're going to go for maybe 10, 15 an over every other over or so. So that's really a point of consideration from Pakistani camp.
Yeah, I think you have summarized the complete lineup very nicely, and you made a couple of very interesting points. The first was that I personally feel that I was, a big fan of Haris Sohail. The energy that he brought into the middle order, he was not only a good strike rotator, but he was also a good power hitter as well. And he used to bring in that influx that you always require, the influx of energy, the influx of power hitting, the influx of calculated power hitting, should I say, because he didn't used to just swing it around. The hits that the shots that he used to hit were calculated shots, and I still remember he played a few very good innings during the 2019 World Cup, and with the inclusion of Saud, you get the same left-handed flavor into your middle order, but also the wide range of shots that are not necessarily unorthodox shot, but they are proper cricketing shots that also get you runs. And he also possesses the ability that may I mention Abdullah Shafiq also possesses to, which is the ability to hit proper cricketing shots right out of the ground. That is something that not everyone possesses, right? So we should appreciate the talent that we are getting. Now, moving on to the point that you made about Osama Mir and Shadab Khan, I completely agree with the fact that the amount of first class cricket that Shadab has not played has definitely impacted his playing capabilities, because we have I shouldn't go any further. We have a case in front of us in the form of Abdullah Shafiq and Saud Shakil, how in the way that they have managed to bring in their form from red ball cricket, and they have been able to translate that into the shorter formats and become good cricketers over there as well. It is widely known amongst the cricket experts that if you are starting from the T20s, it may not it not possible. It is highly unlikely that you become good at the test level as well. David Warner is an exception, of course, but if you start it in the opposite direction, which I mean is if you start from test cricket, playing regular first class cricket, then your basics become sound, and then it is easier for you to translate your good form and your good, should I say, talent into the shorter formats as well. And it is comparatively easier to perform over there as well. Now, coming on to the third point that you made, that was also an interesting point, because playing two leggies is a very sort of I think it brings a comical touch into the playing 11, because you are playing two similar sorts of bowlers in the playing 11. Players have done it, teams have done it in the past. Our very own Imran Khan did it, and he used to play two leggies. But it's always a risk. But I think yeah, I would agree with the fact to play with the fact that Osama Mir and Shadab can play together, because they are both of them are two different sorts of leg spinners. Shadab is more, you could say, sidearmish, and Osama Mir is someone who is a little taller and gets more zip and bounce as well because of his height and comparatively top armish action. So I think that is a very probable 11 that Pakistan could go with, but I don't think they will make any changes right now, right before such a big encounter, because pressing the panic button is not something that I expect Barber to do, and but I wouldn't want to do it personally as well. I would want to go in with the same 11 that just created the highest World Cup chase record ever. Like, imagine, it's not just the highest run chase for Pakistan, it's the highest run chase ever done in all the editions of Cricket World Cup. So that's a big thing, right? So I hope that Pakistan continues with the same combination, and it really I think it would be a massive, massive achievement if Pakistan managed to disappoint and humiliate India in front of the 100,000 people in the so-called Narendra Modi Stadium. I really want that, and I have an unpopular opinion. I would want your take on this as well. But if I had an option between Pakistan winning the ODI World Cup and between Pakistan winning tomorrow's match, I would very difficultly but gladly choose winning against India because the jinx is bothering me more. We have won the ICC trophies. I know the World Cup, the last World Cup that we won was in 1992. But when it comes to just this jinx is like 7-0, and it has been bothering me since 2011, to be very honest. And even though we have a better record when we look at the head to head records of Pakistan and India, whether we look at the all internationals, they have played 130 odd games and Pakistan has a lead over there. Pakistan also has a lead over them in the cumulative matches that they have played in all formats combined. It's just the two World Cups that India is leading us. It's the T20 World Cup and the ODI World Cup. So I really want this jinx to be broken. टूर्नामेंट्स तो जीते हैं यार। आईसीसी चैंपियंस ट्रॉफी भी 2017 में जीती है। ठीक है, 2009 में वर्ल्ड कप भी जीता हुआ है। वर्ल्ड कप दोबारा आई थिंक वी विल बी एबल टू विन इट, बट आई होप, बल्कि it's a very good reminder because I think I'm going to offer two nuffles in order to pray that Pakistan wins the match tomorrow because it's really important to me. Okay, moving on to India's lineup, what do you think the combination will look like? We are hearing news about Shubman Gill recovering from dengue. Do you think they should bring in Ishan Kishan or not? And how do you think their top order looks like? And we have already discussed that their strength, their batting depth, their bowling depth is very massive. So just give us to conclude, just give us a roundup of the Indian batting lineup and what you expect from tomorrow's match. Whether we should bat first, whoever wins the toss, what decision should they make, and yeah,
Hmm. No, I think you really took me on a journey there with your excitement and your enthusiasm for the cricket and the love for the Pakistani team. And I think, yeah, it speaks volume, of course. Unfortunate for us that we haven't been able to make a mark, yet to make a mark in the World Cups. Although in contrast, we have been a better team. Uh, just like up until maybe a decade or 2 decades ago, we were like beating them, really hard. But they have really improved, and we have to give credit where it's due. They have really sort of improve their systems both domestically as well as internationally. And IPL did bring in, a lot of exposure for those young cricketers, and the world really followed their lead. And that's where India as a cricket team became a world-renowned brand. Since the inclusion of IPL in their system. And the way their cricketers are coming, I mean, it's so hard to make an 11 like you have been mentioning. And I think this team, before coming to your question about the Indian team, I would just make a point about the Pakistani team. I truly feel like this team is the one, like they beat India in the T20 World Cup as well in the 2021.
yeah.
It has the potential. It truly has the potential, and I'm really looking forward to the contest. And I think they can make the mark. And it's going to be more of a psychological war, handling the pressure. Playing in one of the larger stadium, under in front of 132,000 people. That's massive, and it in itself is quite an experience to have. And the good thing is that the reception that Pakistani players have been receiving, that's a treat to watch in the Hyderabad. And really for both the political horses on both the side to see how with this political kind of policies. Unfortunately, the cricket suffers, which shouldn't, to be honest. That the sport should be, isolated, irrespective of whatever the policies amongst the nation is. But unfortunately, that is not to be the case. Now, coming to the your question about the Indian side, I think they are perfectly lined up. If you look at the paper, they are probably the best side, in this coming up in this tournament. But things usually don't go by the paper in the tournaments. We have seen this over and over again. It's just the start of the tournament, and we would really see a lot of things. Who would have thought Australia would lose both of their first matches? So sometimes it's luck. We got relatively easier matches, so as India, but India has one good match with Australia, but unfortunately, Australia got both of their matches with tougher sides, and they didn't look like that much of a Australian side, which used to look like. So there's a lot of ups and downs ahead of us. So that's why it's so hard to predict who's going to be in the final four as of now. And India looks to be that one side, and it's getting hard for them to even pick their 11 with regards to the fact that Ishan Kishan is a very great prospect, even if he opens or he comes at fifth or sixth spot. But I think they would probably exclude Ishan, and they would bring back Shubman, if he's fit, of course, and with
Yeah.
Rohit getting back into the form, and Virat is like, he doesn't want to give this opportunity, which is going to be probably could be his last World Cup as well. So he really want to
Yeah.
make that mark, and then I mean, can you imagine Surya Kumar Yadav is is out there, who's probably the world's number one T20I batsman, and he's really the one who could change the game on his own, and maybe they would probably bring him in some sort of situations, because there would be certain situations which we are not really mentioning right now, which we are ignoring, that there could be rains at possible venues. There could be a situation where the net run rate come into effect. So there you have to play less overs. So in certain situations, they have all the resources, and they've really curated their team in a way that they have marked their venues, and they've picked all the resources, as per that. And the real kind of blessing in disguise for them was the inclusion of Ashwin at the last spot, at the last moment. And I think he
Yeah.
really brings in that experience. And they would definitely play him against Pakistan, because Pakistan always struggles against Ashwin. And they would probably play Kuldeep Yadav, as well as, who could get, put Jadeja out of the team. So I think they play three spinners, and they would go with their main two seamers, with Siraj and Bumrah, and
Shardul
then
Thakur.
of course Hardik Pandya would be Shardul Thakur. I'm not too sure. They would play Shardul against Pakistan, and
Hmm.
I think, yeah, I think if they would, then they would have to, of course, keep Ashwin out. So if they would play Ashwin, then they wouldn't play Shardul, and then the rest of
Hmm.
the team would be the same, with of course K. Rahul and then Hardik Pandya, and then Jadeja, and then moving on. So they, with the inclusion of, I think, Hardik Pandya, that brings a unique kind of balancing factor for India, which other teams do not have. Unfortunately, Pakistan lack that, because he's a proper, like, batsman when it comes to batting, and he's a proper bowler, like bowling over 90 miles per hour. And sometimes he seems like their leading bowler. So that really makes them a very, very tough side to compete against. So they are really perfectly balanced. One thing, I think we have seen this in the few years, that if you really take up quick wickets on the top, and it happens with India, they've had collapses. Even we saw this against Australia. Sometimes in the pressure, or maybe something, in the midst of it all, they certainly lose track. But
Yeah.
with Hardik Pandya now sort of changing his game, It wasn't the
Yeah.
case with his few innings which I have seen. We saw that the one in the T20I World Cup against in 2022 in Australia against Pakistan, where he actually played that innings with Virat, where he wasn't like which we used to, see Hardik as playing, with fast hands, hitting those long sixes. So he is really, leveled up his game, and which really is a dangerous sign for other teams. Like if you would take wickets from up top, there still is a threat at the bottom as well. So Pakistan would have really have to look up at their resources and their
Yeah.
planning, as well as the exploitation of their resources as well.
Yeah.
And especially as everyone else is seeing, I wouldn't have any different opinion about the middle overs as well, because that is
Mm.
where the game is actually won. Uh, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think very nicely summarized, Taha, because I think India, it's what the look that I had on the pitch from on social media. It appears to be a good batting surface, and since the general conditions in Ahmedabad are warm, are quite warm, so I think that they are going to go with three spinners, and Shardul may be the one sitting out. You have very rightly pointed out that they need the experience of Ashwin Channa and Kuldeep Yadav obviously has had the better of Babar Azam. I think Babar Azam averages 9 against him, and he has faced around 30 odd balls and scored only 18 runs. So I think Kuldeep is obviously their main weapon against Babar if he gets set. And besides that, I think Jadeja and Ashwin are obviously like were two of the best all-rounders there. That not only the limited overs but also the Test cricket, the longer format of the game. But when I when I think from a Pakistan fans or Pakistani cricket analysts' perspective, I think how can we break into that deep Indian lineup, right? They have their batting depth is very good. Okay, and they have players batting at number 9, and they are batting really well till number 9. So I looked at some stats, and Virat Kohli apparently against Pakistan, he averages 455 against our spinners. Now that is something that is I mean, I don't know how to say it, but I think dangerous would be the right term for it. And he averages 54 against our paces. But on the other hand, since 2022, or should I say 2021, uh, Indian batters have in general performed well against slow left-arm bowlers. However, Virat Kohli in particular averages 13 against slow left-arm bowlers. That is why I think the role of Nawaz in tomorrow's match becomes very important, because how and when Babar Azam uses him, that is something that will be pivotal in how the match transpires moving into the second innings or moving later into the match. Because Virat clearly has a little bit of a weakness against the slow left arm bowlers in the recent past. I'm not saying that he is weak against him. I think that he is struggling in the recent past against him. So I think Nawaz is very pivotal in tomorrow's match, and Babar needs to know how to use him and how to capitalize on that weakness that Virat is facing. And besides that, I think Rohit has sort of kicked on with his aggressor mode. Initially, I think he used to develop his innings. I still remember his double century from the old days, and he used to play a little slower till he got his first 50, and then his next 50 would be quicker, and then his third 50 would be quicker, and then his fourth 50 would be like the quickest of all time. But now he has developed his game, and he has in the recent match I noticed that he has started firing from the word go. He has making use of the power play. That is why he becomes more dangerous, and that is where I think Shaheen needs to step up. I think Shaheen
Mm.
needs to get get the early wickets. Shaheen needs to do what he does, man. Shaheen needs to do it tomorrow. Shaheen needs
Yeah.
to do what he has been doing for us in so many years. And then
Mhm.
Hassan Ali and Haris Nauf. But I think all cylinders need to fire tomorrow in order to defeat such a strong Indian team.
Mhm. Yeah,
Let's
one.
pray that.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I think yeah. Just to sort of summarize whatever we are talking about here, about the Indian side. And one thing I think which we are missing is the venue itself. So
Yeah,
Ahmedabad's pitch is not like the other pitches of India. So here the first innings average score is 237, and the second innings average score is 206. So this actually clearly shows us that this could be a low scoring game with the
yeah,
pressure coming in. So that really sort of changes your plan and the way you would decide about whether to bat first or bowl first. It clearly seems like in a pressure situation, if you win the toss, you would bat first and put up a decent total. It doesn't have to be like thinking about scoring 350 or something. Anything over 250 is going to be a par score, right?
mm,
So and another point I think is that India plays spin very well. We often miss
yeah,
this point whenever we play against India, that we do not. I think it would not be something Pakistan would look up to, considering their orthodox approach towards things and their team selection. That is what they think works for them, the conventional way. But I think it is about time that we start, taking those brave decisions of maybe
yeah,
including a fourth seamer, and that is something which we lacked in the game in Australia against T20. I mean, Nawaz was bowling the last over, right? And then we included Mohammad Wasim, probably a bit too late back then. And so now I think even with Shadab being there, Shadab we could maybe think of Shadab as sixth bowling option instead of considering him as a fifth bowler. And he could be your batting all rounder, and we haven't exploited his potential as a batting all rounder, to be honest, the
mm,
way I feel. So maybe this is another kind of how could I say a trump card which India wouldn't be expecting. But the problem with us is that our fourth bowling option is not an experienced one, and hasn't been really at his best. I'm talking about
but
Mohammad Wasim Jr., of
yeah,
course, and
but
this is yeah. Just to mention here that I think Shahnawaz Dhani's exclusion or maybe including him for that Asia Cup game, making him travel all the way from West Indies, coming in, and then making Zaman Khan play. So that was something I couldn't really process. I nothing to take away from Zaman Khan's brilliance and his last over heroics. We all are a fan of it, but it's like someone who's been part of the system, who you have spent resources on, someone who you have, I could say, who you have invested on. And these are the occasions for which you create a player for, right? And then not even considering them, and taking even in your travel reserves those players who you look at Abrar, no 1 day experience. You look at Zaman Khan, just one game, and then you have of course Haris, maybe less than 10 games. So that really brings into question our selection process, to be honest, as well. Apart from all the positives that we've been seeing lately with this team, so that is where we actually sort of lack, I think, or when we compare ourselves with the other teams in general. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents
uh, you
on
have again, like I'm saying this for the third time because you keep on making interesting coming comments, and you're starting to amaze my mind every time because I think we haven't sat together in a very long time, and this cricket discussion that we are having is was long overdue between us face to face as well. So I think it's very. Coming on to the interesting points that you have made. Don't you think that the batting line, our batting depth gets very weak by including Wasim Jr. Because I think Shadab and Nawaz, as they proved in in the game against Netherlands, I think as Harsha Bhokle once said that the entire concept of thinking that if seven players can't score, the eighth won't score either. That was put to rubbish by Shadab and Nawaz, because I think Shadab and Nawaz complemented each other in that game. And if Nawaz wasn't there, or either of the two weren't there, they probably wouldn't have been able to stitch that partnership that they did, and Pakistan may have been in trouble in that game. So I think that I would like to disagree with that point that you have made, that our batting would get weakened, and that is too high of a risk in this particular match. And to add to that, I think we we should have made that decision. We could have made that decision rather, if we had a good fast bowling all rounder that we are lacking since Azhar Mahmood, should I say? Or
Yeah, yeah,
either Mahmood or Abdul Razak. I think since then we have been lacking a proper fast bowling all rounder, and that has been harming us since a very very long time, to be very honest. And
yeah, that's
uh,
true. Yeah,
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 go
yeah.
on.
I'm just saying that, that's true, the point that you are making. But if you look at, it from the perspective of the evolution of an all-rounder, you would see that all-rounders are usually not born; they are made. They're made
Yeah,
by the team and the system itself. Like look at
yeah,
Hardik Pandya, the way
yeah,
he came in, who he was, and now who he is. If you look at
yeah,
Andrew Flintoff, if you look at
yeah,
Ben Stokes, the way their system curates them, the way they take care of them, the way they
yeah.
invest in them, the way they give them opportunities. So it's been like more than Nawaz actually came into the team in 2016 after the first season of the PSL, and look, it's been almost how many 7 8
Same.
years, and look, he's still uncertain of his position. If you talk about batting his spot, and look at Shadab, he has shown us that he could play at number four, number five, and even in those matches where they were promoted, they really made an impact. If you look at the
Yeah,
Asia Cup in 2022, you promoted Nawaz up the order. He went there in one of the matches of Asia Cup. He won the game for you, right? You were down and out, and then you look at Shadab. You promoted him at the fourth, and in the game against Australia, I beg your pardon, against the game against South Africa, right, in Sydney, and he came and he made an impact, right? So we haven't, like, we test few options, they work, and then somehow we just couldn't get out of our uh, you know, conventional method and conventional thinking, I would say. Like we think like, no, this has worked, but it would only work once. That's not the case. You really, if something works, you really test it out for longer durations, which not only helps you evolve as a team, it also helps your resources gain that confidence. Now they are like, sometimes in their thinking, they are at sixes and sevens. Are we playing in the team as a bowler, or are we playing as a batter? So what's our role, right? So they're lacking that role. And as for the bowling all-rounder, a good bowling order, it's not the case that we do not have such resources in domestic cricket.
yeah,
But the system, we are not actually not, there is no certain criteria. I've mentioned it. The inclusion of Zaman Khan, the inclusion of Abrar, nothing to, put against them. But you have Amir Jamal. He has shown you, he's been playing the first class cricket. He's someone who can bowl at, 85, even touching 90 miles, and then he could really bat well. And then you had Hamad Azam. What happened to him? Then you even go on and you talk about Khurram Shahzad. He has been making a lot of runs and taking a lot of wickets. He's actually the one of the leading wicket takers in this season's Qaid Azam Trophy. So if you keep dissecting, you would find lots and lots of names which we could have invested in them, and we could have made really player out of them. But what to say. So it's a long debate, maybe for some other day.
yeah,
Maybe for right now we have to just utilize what we have, and the resources we currently have at our disposal. um, Talking particularly with respect to that, I would agree with you that including Mohammad Wasim wouldn't make sense. I think going with maybe Osama Mir in place of Nawaz, or even not that, you just go on with your uh, current playing 11, which played against Sri
Yeah.
Lanka, and you're pretty much set. You just go there with a positive mindset, and let's see what happens there in front of 130,000 people. And playing against India is always a big thing in India, and at the World Cup, it's one of your lifetimes achievement, I could say. And if you are really
Yeah.
able to make a mark there, those who are able to score, it's like whatever you're doing it for generations to come.
Yeah.
We weren't even born, and who do we hear about whenever a situation comes where
Imran Khan, who is?
exactly Imran Khan, Javed Miadar in particular,
Yeah.
that six on the last ball, that still haunts India. Every time there is a debacle between a Pakistani and Indian fan, they would make them recall that, Chitra Sharma bowling that full toss and then Javed hitting it out of the park. So that
Yeah.
really, the sound of that still resonates within the Pakistani and Indian cricket fraternity, and and so it's really a big game coming up tomorrow. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, to sum up what the recent discussion that we have had, I think it eventually boils down to the fact that looking at how desperate we are for a fast bowling all rounder. If it were me, I would spend some resources and I would like separately develop a fast bowling training center, a fast bowling all rounder training center inside the NCA or something like that, where focus training is given by perhaps Azhar Mahmood and Abdul Razak or anyone from the outside as well, in order to train these bowlers and work on their power hitting ability. And to clarify another point for our viewers and for you as well, you mentioned that Shahnawaz Dahani, it didn't make sense to you that Shahnawaz Dahani traveled all the way just for a match and he had to go back. From a PCB's point of view, I would like clarify, like I'm not the spokesperson on that, but I can understand what their logic was. It was basically to send Shahnawaz in place of in place of our injured fast bowler, because we could have made it into the final. And if we had gone into the final and if someone else had gotten injured, then Shahnawaz would have played. Zaman was already in line to play the match, and I think that is why, since he performed well, that is why Shahnawaz Dahani never made it into the reserves as well. Balke, I would like to add to that before we sum it up and before we conclude this podcast. I think I stated this earlier as well, but I was really bummed about Zaman Khan being in the reserves. Not because I wanted him to be in the 15, but because I wanted him out of the 18. Because currently, I think we are very well equipped with our death bowling, and where we were lacking was after Naseem Shah's injury was basically that we had our new bowling resources were weakened. They were depleted heavily, and we are sort of now. Hassan is obviously doing a good job now, but in case, God forbid, if our one of our two new ball bowlers gets injured, Zaman Khan comes in, then assuming that if Shaheen or Hassan gets injured, are you going to open with, let's say, Haris Rauf and Hassan Ali? Now, that is a new bowling pair that doesn't sit well with me, to be very honest. And neither does Wasim Jr. or Zaman Khan of bowling with the new ball sit well with me. So, in my opinion, Fahim Ashraf as a bowler, especially as a bowler, not as an all rounder, I would have had him in reserves because he offers not the exact same control as Naseem Shah, but he can ball at that length that you mentioned earlier, and he can give you the control, and he can economize, and he can put the brakes on the batsman instead of leaking runs. He may not be a good wicket taker, but I think he could have, applied the brakes, and he would have been a better backup compared to Zaman Khan. That being said, I think we should back all the 15 players that we have that we have selected. And let's hope and pray that Pakistan manages to win the match tomorrow and the World Cup as well. And let's hope that all our viewers enjoyed this episode, and for all of you that watched it till the end. We would love to have your constructive feedback, and don't forget to support our channel. You can the links will be in the description. Go follow and like our content on all the social media handles. I have started this page personally, and a lot of, trust me when I say, a lot of effort is being put in order to keep this show and this platform running. So don't forget to support, and thank you very much, Taha Jamil, for joining us all the way from Turkey and taking out the time to be on the chapter 3 of the Ultimate Cricket Discourse. It was an absolute pleasure to host you, and we hope to see you again. Thank you and love this.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron, for having me.
Thank you.